This whole fucking bullshit. So after poking me and me telling her, don't touch me, uh, she starts to say how I'm not supposed to stand there. And which is really irritating for me because I know, like, I am standing there at that moment, but I wasn't going to stand there for hours and hours and hours. I wasn't going to stand there all day. So for her to tell me I'm not supposed to stand there, um, it really bothered me because I was only going to be there in this entryway for a couple minutes. So I wasn't really going to be staying there for very long. So for her to tell me not to stand there, I can't stand there at all, not even for a second? What the fuck is what I'm thinking. So I just said, because I knew I was going to be leaving soon, I just said, I'm not standing here, which is kind of funny because it's obvious that I was standing there at that moment, but I wasn't going to be standing there for too long. So I'm thinking, why are you fucking bothering me? I'm only going to be here for a couple minutes, but I didn't want to get into a conflict with this person. So I just said, I'm not standing here. I guess I could have said, I'm just going to be here to take out my laptop and then I'm going to stand out there. I could have said all that, but I was trying to get out of this interaction with her because I didn't want to talk to her. So I just said, I'm not standing here. And I would just continue doing what I was doing, getting my laptop out, and I was about to leave. And then she starts to talk about stuff I had done previously. She said how I was told to tell you that you're not supposed to stand back by the bathrooms, which I had done weeks ago. I wasn't continuing to do it. I only did it one fucking time. She said, you're not supposed to stand back by the bathrooms. And you're not supposed to stand here because it's a fire hazard. I was told to tell you, she says, which kind of takes responsibility off of her. She's like, "Oh well, I wasn't. It's not my decision. It's so apparently some management told her that, oh, you better tell that person that they can't stand there, not even for a second, because it's a fire hazard." So to comment on things I had done weeks before rather than things that I had been doing more recently was something that bugged me. Like, I wasn't continuing to stand back by the bathrooms. So there was no reason to tell me not to do it because I wasn't continuing to do it. Because I had a negative experience with the last person who was questioning why I was back there using the internet. So I wasn't going to. You don't have to fucking tell me don't stand back there. Because I already decided, okay, apparently they're going to have an attitude, so I'm not going to stand back there anymore by the bathrooms. And I'm not going to stand in the entryway. I did that one time, uh, I think 2.5 weeks ago. I did that one time 2.5 weeks ago. So there's no fucking reason you need to comment on that one fucking time from 2.5 weeks ago, whether you think that's a fire hazard. I'm not sure how that's a fire hazard. What I didn't feel like I was in danger to myself or others. I don't know how they're getting that's a fire hazard. Especially when there's no fire involved at that moment. There should be some consideration for what is happening currently. There's no danger. There's no fucking fire. So what's the emergency? There was nothing dangerous about uh, where I was standing with the laptop back by the bathrooms because there's this I guess about the same size as the entryway, like 10 by 10, but there were some chairs there. It was just like kind of like a little room actually. But I wasn't like blocking anybody. I was just back there by myself, not bothering anyone, just using the internet with my laptop on the chairs. So I don't see how that's a fire hazard, especially because there was no fire. There was no danger of me just standing there. And the other thing with the entryway, even if I was continuing to stand there, uh, I don't see how that's a fire hazard either. Like, I took a photo of it with my laptop. I'm going to try to attach it to one of these videos. But I tried to I tried to show with my laptop. Okay, this is how large the entryway is. This is what the situation was. So it should be obvious because of how wide the entryway was. There was plenty of room for people to walk through the entryway. I am off to the side, so it's plenty wide, and there's a bulletin board over here. So my thinking is not only like how the fuck are you calling that a fire hazard for someone standing off to the side like that? And even if there was a fire, if there was some kind of fucking emergency, there's plenty of time to get the fuck out. I'm not gonna just stand there if there's a fire. Like, where's the fucking fire hazard? How is it a hazard? Just standing off to the side in an entryway. There's no fucking fire hazard. Okay, and then the amount of time, like a couple minutes at the most, that I was in this entryway regularly, not including that other time where it was like a couple hours. But the amount of time for the most part that I was in there, for like a couple weeks that I was in there, was only a couple minutes. So where's the fire hazard? For someone standing off to the side in an entryway for 2 minutes, 2 fucking minutes at the most, how is that a fire hazard? And so I'm by the bulletin board, and I'm thinking, if someone, like, why do they have a bulletin board over here in this entryway? If they think it's a fire hazard for someone to be by the bulletin board. So if you're going to say me just standing there for a couple minutes while taking out my laptop before I walk outside, that's a fire hazard, then you can say the same thing about someone going in the entryway, glancing, oh, there's a bulletin board here. Oh, there's some interesting things on the bulletin board. I'm going to look at the bulletin board. Oh, what's that? Oh, which could be like for a couple minutes at the most. About the same amount of time, I was thinking. So if you're going to call what I was doing a fire hazard, then you would have to say someone looking at the bulletin board is a fire hazard. Which doesn't make sense, of course, because why would you have a bulletin board in the entryway if you don't want people stopping to look at the fucking bulletin board in the entryway? So that's what pissed me off. So if her saying that, like if the only reason why she was saying that was calling what I was doing a fire hazard was things I had done previously, like weeks previously, which I hadn't been doing recently, why is she even fucking bringing it up at all? If she's only saying that the things I did previously was a fire hazard. Okay, fine. I wasn't fucking doing that anymore. So why even bring it up? I wasn't continuing to stay back by the bathrooms, and I wasn't continuing to stay in the entryway for hours, for like a couple hours. So all I was doing for a couple weeks was being in the entryway for 2 minutes. So why even bring up the whole thing about a fire hazard if I wasn't doing anything that was a fire hazard, in my opinion? Because why would you call that a fire hazard? Being in an entryway off to the side for a couple of minutes by a bulletin board, that's not a fucking fire hazard. So, a lot of this stuff I just thought of after the fact, after dwelling on it. But at the time, like I feel like my heart's beating kind of fast because I'm a little stressed about talking about it. So at the time, because I feel like I try to be a non-confrontational person. I did not want to get into a heated argument with her. I just wanted to get away from her because she was pissing me off, and I just wanted to get outside and use the internet. I knew that I wasn't doing anything wrong, and I still believe that. So I could have argued with her. I didn't want to, so I just wanted to get outside. So I just said, I'm not bothering anybody. And she just says, okay. And then as I left, I said, leave me alone. So that was what ended that. It just when you keep pushing someone, like for me, I've noticed, I'm trying to not snap at people, but if you keep pushing me, I'm gonna snap. I don't want to snap because I don't want to feel stressed out. But by being persistent, when someone is ignoring you, that should tell you to leave that person alone. And this whole like excuse with saying the management told me to say it. I was told to tell you that what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is a fire hazard. I'm not buying it. Like there was that one person who had an issue with it. I don't know what position they held, like if they were like a manager or whatever, but they have a few different people working there that could be considered like a manager. So like I'm sure that person, because they were giving me an attitude that one day, might have said something, I don't know, to this other person. Uh, but I'm thinking she she was giving me a hard time, is what it felt like, because of the previous experience with me giving flowers to her. Uh, and then me asking her a question which she felt was inappropriate. I feel like she was giving me a hard time and she was just trying to get rid of me.